Hello and welcome to the Absolute Game of Nerds with your non-geek, non-nerd hosts, JP and Rohan. And this is episode 17, we think. And we have a special guest, another collector like ourselves. We have Dale. His IG name is Hulk, which is a great name, as we were talking about prior to the recording. But Rohan, why don't you go ahead and give our viewers a more detailed explanation?
So we've often talked about how the comic community, especially on IG, is it's just a very welcoming community. And so, like for guys like me and JP and I met in that comic community on IG. Like we've never actually met in person, right? And so similarly, Dale here of Hulk is another guy that I've met along the way. It's just another great example. Like if you are into comics, like you should get on Instagram. Not that I'm a big social media guy, but like I don't have a lot of friends to talk to in 3D here where I live about comics, but there is a space there, and it's like super welcoming. And Dale is just another perfect example of who's out there and who you can make friends with and meet that can help you along your journey. You never know. So everyone say hello to Dale. Dale, how's it going?
Hey guys. Hey JP, Rohan. I appreciate you having me on the show.
Jesus, you're getting attacked again, Rohan?
Oh yeah. I'm back in the gym.
Imperial troops entering the base.
They're doing work. They're trying to invade. So yeah, Dale, thanks for coming on. We usually always start with kind of just get right into it and start with kind of an origin story of you, JP, and I, and I'm assuming that you're in your 40s, just like us. Like we talked about, you probably started as a kid, and then maybe you did have a break, or maybe you did. Like, kind of tell us your origin story, kind of where it's come along, and to where you are now.
Yeah, absolutely. But I just want to thank you guys for having me on the show. One thing that attracts me to your show is you guys are just a couple normal guys, right? That like to talk shop about comics. One of our hobbies, one of our passions, right? And having me, just an average guy, as well on the show is pretty awesome. Just we can kind of talk about comics, right?
Yeah.
So my name's Dale. Hulk is Hulk on Instagram. Similar, I've not a big social media guy, but I kind of gravitated towards it because of the comic book community that I did find down there. So I mean that's pretty cool. From Chicago, background about me. I got a lot of passions, a lot of hobbies in my life. Comic books being one of them. My personality is when I find an interest in something, like I tend to go all in, like crazy obsessed all in. And that happened to me, a few years ago as a renewed interest in comics, right? But I also have other hobbies. I'm a mountain climber, rock climber. I do big mountain expeditions. Just got back from Argentina where I did a 23,000 foot mountain.
Did you do Aconcagua?
I did Aconcagua. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm also a beekeeper. I love to travel, music. I was played in some bands, amateur boxing, used to be, not anymore. And I did some writing for a boxing website and did some reporting on ESPN Friday Night Fights and stuff.
We got a Renaissance man here.
I know, man. But and people try to get me into new hobbies. I got a friend who just was like, "Hey, I want to get my pilot's license. Come, learn, how to fly planes with me." And I was like, "Oh, that is so tempting." But I already have too many hobbies to, spending too much time and money on these things.
Yeah, not
I got to hold myself
hobbies,
back.
Expensive hobbies.
Exactly.
Pilots is a whole other level.
Yeah, and to fund all these fun hobbies, my day job is I'm an electrical engineer. I work at the local power company as a director of engineering.
Nice. Right on.
Yeah. So, I mean, kind of my origin story, right? Similar probably to you guys. Started collecting when I was a kid, 10, 11 years old. But I like to say I wasn't a collector back then. I was a reader.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody cared how many comics you had or like the most valuable ones. No, we just love comics. We love pulling them out, sitting in the dirt, rolling them up in our back pockets, reading the comics, reading the stories, trading with each other. So my friend that lived behind me, he was the one that got me into comics, and his dad would take us to the comic book store, maybe once a month, and he had a lot of comics, right? And I mean, he had just stacks and stacks, hundreds, where I had had a couple dozen. I didn't grow up rich or anything, and my mom wasn't about to give me a bunch of money to go buy comics, so I had to scrounge and
I
it
like
was
lunch money.
yeah, exactly. Save my lunch money and yeah, buy a comic or two every time I went to the, the store with them. But as things go, got a little bit older, got into girls, skateboarding, sports, that kind of stuff, and comic books back in the late '90s when you're in high school wasn't as cool, right? So I kind of lost a little bit of interest. Didn't want to admit to my girlfriends that I was into comic books. But one thing I did still like to do was watch the animated series. Of course, I wasn't telling my friends and girlfriends that, but I loved the X-Men series, the Spider-Man series. They had a Surfer Hulk series, so I still love to watch those. Even as an older teenager.
As you say that, like that Silver Surfer cartoon series. So Silver Surfer, as I've talked about many times, is my favorite character. And I remember I was a kid. I was so hyped when they announced that Silver Surfer cartoon series, and it was so disappointing because it honestly, like, I wanted to like it, but it sucked. And it was like poorly, and it got canceled after one season, and like it was like, God, I was like, man, they really effed this up. I was so upset because I too was like X-Men. The X-Men '97 series was awesome. Spider-Man, New Adventures of Batman, all that stuff I loved. And so like when Silver Surfer, I was like, oh, here we go. And like I remember thinking like, who do they get to draw this cartoon? It was awful. Like it was just like, oh, so bad.
It was. So when they came on Disney Plus, I don't know, maybe a year ago, I went back and I did. I noticed there's only like 8 episodes. I think they only made it through like half a season of the Silver Surfer, it was like storyline was a little bad. Yeah, the art wasn't that great.
They definitely put the JV squad on that one.
I never saw that cartoon. I never saw the. I know we keep talking about it, and I have yet to go back and watch the Spider-Man one because I remember the weird-headed Spider-Man, but I don't know and his Amazing Friends Spider-Man version. But the one you guys probably watched that was around the same time as X-Men, I didn't see that one. I don't know why.
You didn't watch X-Men, JP?
Oh yeah,
I watched X-Men, but I did not watch that Spider-Man.
Yeah,
around that same time.
Spider-Man, I want to say it's like 6 seasons long. And actually, what was really cool about that, because it is all on Disney Plus, is I recently watched the episodes they did on Secret Wars, and they're pretty cool. Like they're still pretty good.
Oh yeah, the story's a little bit different, but it really focuses around Spider-Man. But yeah, that series is great. I loved it.
So Dale, with your collecting back in the day with your friend, and do you still have the books from that time?
No. So unfortunately, my mom, being the non-hoarder, the anti-hoarder that she was, once I kind of lost interest, she tossed all my books. I don't think I had anything very valuable anyway. But that was the time with around the Jim Lee X-Men series coming out, Predator, or sorry, Punisher, War Journal was popular. Spawn was new. The Batman comics were pretty popular back then, so I had a few of those. I don't think anything very valuable, but my mom tossed them all. The only ones she saved, and maybe she saved them because they were in poly bags, was the death and rebirth of Superman.
We all thought those were going to be worth so much money. Literally, did we not know that they printed 50 million of them?
Exactly. Right. The X-Men one, I had a couple of those. Maybe thought they'd be valuable, but back then I didn't care. I mean, I trashed my comics,
Yeah, we always talk about the X-Men one and the Spider-Man one of Todd McFarlane's run. Those are like the two most common, and it's for same with JP and I. But I remember that the Superman death of that came in the black poly bag with like the emblem in blood. Because I remember like going to a comic store and they were selling it for $100, and we had ours. I was like, oh man, it's really? $100. Like we are gonna be rich because we have this one. Dude, you can buy that comic now for like $10.
Exactly. Like I was looking when I got back into comics. I looked up like you can buy the set, the black poly bag and the white poly bag for like $20. I'm like, the two comics my mom saved, pretty much worthless. I mean, they're cool to have. It's history, but like it's they're worthless. I could have got them, but it's cool because I still got them from back when I was a kid.
Yeah, the wall behind me is my McFarlane books, and most of those are ones I had as a kid. So I don't know. I mean, it's hard to see them all, but I didn't throw it. I had a short box full of comics I kept from the time I stopped collecting through college, and I've lived in 3 houses since then. Is it three or four? And kept them all in that time. That little short box. But when I got back into collecting, and I've said this on other pods that we've done, is I sold some books back in 2017 or 2018, and when I got back into it in 2022 with, for whatever reason, I think I went back to a comic shop and I started to get that nostalgia feel, and then took a couple months, and then I was full bore back into it. And I went out to go buy the books I had sold, which was just like 3 McFarlanes, like the 298, 299, and 300. And I went back just to get 300 and figured I'd be done after that. So my question to you is, Dale, whenever you got back into it, was there a specific book you went after, or you just, like I was just going to buy one and be done, and then thousands of dollars later, here I am with a
and
room
also
full of...
what, and also talk about like what got you back in and when did you get back in?
Yeah. So 2018 is when I got back in, and I was on I think I was on a business trip in North Carolina. I think it was somewhere near Charlotte. And there was a comic shop just right next to my hotel. So I had some time to kill, and just like, oh, hey, I haven't been in a comic shop since I was a kid, Walked in, and like you said, it was like a slap to the face of nostalgia, right? Just walking in that shop, and I think I spent a couple hours just rummaging through all the old comics, saw some of the comics, I probably had as a kid. I read as a kid. And it was just awesome. And I felt like a kid again, going in there. But then also I was a little overwhelmed because I realized, oh man, the comic game has changed so much, in 20 years since I last bought a comic or something. I was introduced to the slabbing, and the grading of comics, and I was like, oh wow, this is not just a happy-go-lucky fun reading hobby. This is investment opportunities as well. But when I got back into it, I think I bought a couple comics from that shop in North Carolina. I remember I bought a Hulk number 8, which is in the volume 2, which is a story, a fight between Hulk and Wolverine, which is pretty cool. They've had a few, 340,
a few dust ups
181, so they, and then I was like, it got me thinking. I was like, oh, what's the first appearance of Hulk? I didn't have this, background knowledge. What's the first appearance of Wolverine? And that's when I was like, I started looking up some prices on these things, and I was like blown away. I was like, oh my goodness, like had no idea that these books are so valuable. And it just, even piqued my interest even more. So, I decided then I wanted to get a Hulk 181. And that was something I wanted, but even more, the ultimate grail that I was seeking after was that Hulk number 1. So, which I still don't have, and I know we'll probably talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, we're definitely going to get into that a little later. Yeah,
but yeah, that's the ultimate grail that I'm hoping to get.
What would you say some of the first like big grails you got were, like when you started back into it, like in that first year?
So I kind of have so to answer your question, a Hulk 181, I jumped into that pretty quickly. I had the finances, and I got it. I actually got it right here. I'll show you. It's kind of in a case if you can see it.
Oh, nice. 8.5.
Yeah,
nice.
I know. And I jumped in pretty quick. Got it. And this was back in 2018. So it was, a little more affordable back then, and I know the price jumped up in 2021 as all comic books did. And so it's got a little more value to it now, but even with prices dropping, I, like you, Rohan, my second favorite character is Silver Surfer. I love the Silver Surfer
nice
books. The character, it's awesome.
Yeah, I can see that Silver Surfer 4 right there on your back wall.
Yeah, I got a 4 there.
And the TTA 93.
Exactly, and that one's actually my favorite cover of all. And we can talk about my favorite covers and the grails that I have. But that's definitely my two favorite characters. But I also like Wolverine, um, X-Men, Fantastic Four, even some of the non-Marvel, non-DC. Invincible, I think it's a great series, a great character. But I kind of went through an evolution of when I first got back in of you know and progression of collecting. At first, I got caught up in the hype and the speculation of everything, and I just started buying everything. Right, I was even buying like every single comic that was coming out every week, in hopes that it might become a key one day. Right, but I quickly learned that you know what, most of these comics lose most of their value the second I purchase them and walk out the door. Right, and so I learned pretty quickly I gotta hold back on that kind of stuff.
Why do you say that though? The minute you buy it, like,
Well, I mean, most modern comics, and I'm talking about like the new ones that are coming out every week. So most modern comics, aren't going to hold any value, aren't going to be worth much or more than the value of the paper that they're printed on.
so
You
the
know,
$4 you spent to buy it, or $3, whatever that sticker price is, it ends up being $1 book. So
exactly.
you lose
Yeah.
$3. So
Yeah,
hopefully you read
I
it
would
and
agree.
got something out of it.
I would agree with that assessment. I mean, outside of like the Ultimate Fallout 4 and Edge of Spider-Verse 2, like,
yeah.
I
There's
mean,
not many.
you're pretty, and then like the thing I always say with the modern thing, it's like if you even want a shot at it having any value, you've got to buy a copy to then get slapped, and you better hope it's a 9.8, because otherwise, there's no point.
Yeah. If you're paying for a modern comic, besides just the two or three keys that are modern comics, if you're paying more than $70 for a slab 9.8,
Yeah,
you're probably paying too much.
and that's the thing, right? You buy the book for $4, and let's just say like, okay, this is it. I'm gonna get this one. This is gonna be the big one. A modern comic on CGC is at $24, right?
Yeah, I
And
think
then
they've raised their prices to somewhere around there.
so let's just say $30, right? Because there's like that invoice fee or whatever they have. That's like $5, right? And then we'll just say to ship it down and back is, we'll say, another $20. And then if you get it pressed, we'll just say, for instance, it's $15, right? So let's just say you're looking at right around $50, right? Like you said, at a modern comic at a 9.8, it's best maybe like 75 to 100. And if it's a 9.6, I mean, you're under $50 to what that value
Yeah,
is. It's like, so
exactly.
you've already lost your money.
Yeah, exactly.
True.
That's what I'd say. So, I mean, there's only been a handful of modern comics that are going to be worth anything. And I was making the mistake of just buying everything that's coming out. Books I wasn't reading, characters I didn't like, in hopes, right? That one day they'd be valuable. I learned my lesson pretty quick. Had to cut that out, and so I did turn to like just hell. I gotta collect established keys, right? The ones that have value, um, will increase in value over time. Just because they're sought after books. A couple of them that I bought. Um, I'll go through. Actually, I got a couple of them. I got a Daredevil number
Nice.
one. I hope to upgrade this one at some point, right? It's a 1.8. It's actually, it's a complete copy.
It's a good looking 1.8.
Yeah, the cover's attached. It's pretty clean, except for the top here. It's got some water damage, but other than that, it's pretty clean. I do hope to upgrade it because I do want maybe something like a 4 or 5 in this book, just because I do like the character Daredevil.
One thing I don't understand about the grading process is when you get to 9, there's 9.0, 9.2, 4, all the way to 8. When you get under 1, it's 1.8. I think it's the
1.5.
lowest is 1.8 and
Yeah.
0.5.
There's 1.5.
There's no 2.8. There's
No.
no, you know what I
No.
mean? Like from 2.0 to 8.5, there's nothing, and there's no 8s or 6 in the between that, right?
No,
Yeah.
it's just, yeah.
So
And it's weird too with like the what it's 2.0, 1.8, 1.5, 1.0. Whereas like the 9, like I said, 9.2, 9.4, 9.6.
then there's that 0.5.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
get
and
a
a
0.5,
0.5.
1. Yeah, but within 1 to 2 is, they added that 1.8
Yeah.
in there, Hey,
Just give the 2 for Christ. You know what I mean? Like, what's the
Exactly.
difference?
Yeah.
So
I think it's more frustrating though when it's like you have a book and it's like, in all reality, like your book any day could be a 9.4, a 9.6, a 9.8, a 9.6, a 9.4. It's just like it's a complete crapshoot at that top, and it's just like,
Yeah.
for crying out loud, especially when they send it back to you and there are no grader notes and it's a 9.4, and you're like, what the hell?
all right.
Well, so let me ask you guys. I've seen 9.6s and 9.8s that look exact the same. You know, no spine wear, no spine ticks, but they got a 9.6 versus a 9.8. But at the same time, like you'll see, and this is another thing. Like I don't understand, like the price variation between a 9.6 and a 9.8. Like
Huge.
yeah,
JP and I talk about this all the time.
Oh, yeah.
It's the single most frustrating
yes,
part of, and this is why, in all reality, this is why I'm happy that I'm not really a modern chaser, and like I'm particularly bronze, silver, and hopefully one day maybe I'll get into golden age, but like, so it's like I'm not really chasing the 9.8s, right? I mean, obviously there's like a 9.8 Hulk 181, there's several, but I don't have $100,000. But yes, exactly, like because the grading is subjective, and it's like your 9.6 can be a 9.8 one day, and your 9.8 could be a 9.6. The fact that the price increase from a 9.6 to 9.8 makes no sense whatsoever to me. Like I've seen a book, it'd be 9.6. Like I'll give you an example. And this book is not current pricing, but I was watching a live sale and they had an ASM 316. And at the time, they had both a 9.8 and a 9.6. The 9.6 was $400. The 9.8 was $1,000. Right? So it's like you already have a 2.5 multiplier right there.
Yeah.
And it just like makes no sense. And like you go on YouTube, right? And you can watch like Bry's comics. He has these books. He always talks like CPR candidates. And like there are books he's shown. He's like, I've tried 5 times to get this comic and I got it on my 5th time. It's a 9.8. And it's just like, that is so, it's just so ridiculous. Like when there's that level of subjectivity that the price jumps that much.
And I still haven't figured out the algorithm of, okay, is a jump from 9.6 to 9.8, is that 50% value? Is that 100% value? I recently got a Star Wars 1 back from CGC, and it came back at 9.6, which I was really happy about. I was expecting.
Is it
like
a 35-cent variant?
No, it's not. It's not.
No.
But
From 77, you got a 9.6.
Yeah.
The 19.
Exactly.
Wow. Does that?
Yeah.
Where'd you get that one at? You just bought it online, or?
From my local comic shop.
Wow.
I got, and I'll talk about the guy from my local comic shop. Just he's the real deal. He's awesome. But I got it from him. He gives me just books really cheap, and it was a higher grade than I expected. But then I started looking. Okay, the 9.6 is probably worth around $1,000, but then the 9.8 is going for like $4,500. So I'm like, oh, well, there's a 4.5 times multiplier there.
Yeah.
So what's the difference? Sometimes it's 50% multiplier. Sometimes it's
I think too with
450.
with the Star Wars 1, because I think you have to look at like the ratio almost of like 9.6 to 9.8, and so the Star Wars 1 is that black cover, right? So to get the 9.8 is exponentially harder to get than in some other books. Like another example of that from the Bronze Age is Marvel Spotlight 5. Now, at almost every grade, a Marvel Spotlight 5 is significantly cheaper than Hulk 181. However, if you've seen the record price for a Hulk 181 9.8 is $138,000. Now, it's obviously come down way soon. But the Marvel Spotlight 5 9.8 is over $200,000, right? So I think there's some you have to look at how hard is it to get the 9.6 versus, or another good example of this is like Spider-Man 301, right? Which is like the homage of 300. It was the first homage.
Yeah,
like,
the white cover.
The white cover. The 9.8s are like, there's tons of 9.6s out there. There's very few 9.8s. And so it's like, if you get a 9.8 in that book, it's like $1,200. But if you get a 9.6, it's like $150, right? So I think there's the correlation that has to do with, now, I'm not saying it's like a perfect science. Like there's definitely like variations, but like I think there's definite something to do with like how many 9.8s are there compared to 9.6s.
Yeah, for sure. That makes sense.
Well, I think it was the 9.8 on the ASM 300. There was a newsstand copy I saw on Elite sit for sale for $20,000.
Yeah.
And then the direct copy was on sale for how much? Wasn't it like $5,000?
$4,000.
So it was. I don't. And when I got back into it in early 2022, a buddy of mine telling me to buy 9.8s, only buy 9.8s, and I swear I saw the newsstand ASM 300 for like $6,000 in March of 2022. And then end of last year, Elite had that same newsstand for $20,000. So
Yeah.
I could have just bought that last year and made 15 grand. I mean, I couldn't believe it. But then the direct one is still $4,000 and probably hasn't moved much. So
Yeah,
that's another factor too.
I necessarily, and I don't know where where you stand on this, but like, I do think the newsstand premium is a bit out of hand. Like,
Yes.
I'm not saying they shouldn't be worth more, but like you said, 4,000 to 20,000. Like, I feel like that's a bit much. And it's like, especially too, if you think about it, like, if you got a 9.6 direct, right, that is probably cheaper than like a 9.2 newsstand. And I just think like in 30 years, would I think like I'd rather have a 9.6 or a 9.2 newsstand? Like, I don't know. The newsstand premium, I think, is, I get why it's there. I feel like it's a little bit overboard though.
Yeah, me too. I'm not a newsstand chaser. It doesn't really matter to me. I get, right. They're more rare. You know, in a lot of the more modern books, they're a lot more rare. But to me, it doesn't really make a difference. And I'll point out one thing. This is one of my favorite covers. It's actually, you know, if you see, it's Hulk 344, and it came out the same month as Spider-Man 300, right?
Yeah.
Both drawn by Todd McFarlane, and you know, Hulk, you know, has the same posture as Spider-Man and ASM 300, and obviously he was drawing him, you know, right around the same time. I got a bunch of these. Here's the direct copy, right? It's got a cool little McFarlane sketch of a Hulk face, and then the newsstand, a barcode. I'd rather have the cool sketch that McFarlane did of the Hulk face than
we talked about this with our interview with Manu, who loves the newsstand.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, you know, if you had your choice, of course you're going to pick more
As a
art
kid,
than just lines.
that's the one I grabbed.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, Rowan, the pictures I sent to you the other day of my drawings, like that Hulk face is on that where that direct copy is. Like that's where I took that from. So I have the same copy behind me. I don't know if you can see it too, right about here.
Oh yeah,
344, and mine's direct. So, and I'm kind of surprised as I go back through my old collection of how much I had newsstand, because majority of them were bought at the comic shop.
Yeah.
So they all should have been direct.
Really?
So I don't know why they were, unless they traded them in. You know, maybe they got them on trade. Probably is what happened. But like, I have a 340 that's newsstand. I didn't know the difference back then. I just wanted the copy, and you know, so it was. I remember the ones I bought at the 7-Eleven, and their newsstands, obviously. But any other one I bought at the comic shop, you'd figure they should have been. Most of them directs. So.
Yeah, and then when I am looking at a book where, you know, let's just say there is a newsstand version, to me, it's just like, I don't really care. It's just like, whatever I can find the good value, better deal on is what I'm going to go for. That's direct, that's newsstand.
But the thing of it is you got to think about when direct became less or more prominent and when newsstands did not. So by mid 80, you know, everything was newsstand by that point. And then, but again, if you have a direct that's, you know, early 80s, that's probably pretty rare, because there wasn't as many at that point. So that's something to consider. But then as you get to the mid 80s and on, that newsstand became rarer. So to find one in higher grade gives you the premium. But, you know, because their thought is that you took care of it when you bought it from the comic book store.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, even when like there isn't that lower ratio of them, like a lot of them still get a premium just because of like the mindset of when they were bought. Like, you buy this at a comic store, it's going in a bag and board. You buy this at Safeway, you're rolling it up and you're putting it in your back pocket.
It's going on the rack.
And you know, I get that. And like I said, I understand why there's a premium. I do think on a lot of comics, like I think it's just a bit extreme. But like we talked with Manu, he's got that Ultimate Fallout 4 9.8 newsstand now, right? He's posted that, so it's out there. And like the multiplier on that is unknown because one hasn't been sold. And you know, it's astronomical, right? Ultimate Fallout 4 9.8 direct, you can buy. I see one posted literally every day, and it's around $1,600 to $1,700 right now. Right? It used to be like right around $4K. Jeez. That newsstand, I mean, it's pushing upwards of six figures. So it's crazy.
Well, after that interview with Manu, I started looking for those 9.8s because getting them the rarity of a 9.8 newsstand with signatures, and if Todd signed it with, you know, red ink and whatnot. So like all these little factors come into it. So it just all depends on what someone's willing to pay.
Yeah.
In my opinion,
right.
you know, like I got a Hulk or a Amazing Spider-Man 328. Now you said 344 was your favorite Hulk cover, right? So one of my favorites was ASM 328, where Spider-Man fights the Hulk.
Yeah.
If you remember that one. And
Yeah.
so I've had that one since I was a kid. So I found a 9.8 newsstand signed by Todd, and probably paid more than I would have paid because I don't really care about signatures, but just the rarity of it, I bought. But again, I like the one I have has the little picture of the Hulk in the bottom left-hand corner,
Yeah.
not the barcode. But again, the rarity of that to find them newsstands signed. If you look at CGC registry, there's I think 130 autographed 9.8s. I don't know how many are newsstand, probably less than a handful.
Yeah.
But does that mean I'm going to get $20,000 someday for it? Probably not.
Yeah, not if it's not a big key.
Yeah.
But it's the last one McFarlane drew on ASM.
Yeah, I got
it has
that
some key significance, but you never know. But I don't expect that.
Yeah.
But you know, that's a small price to pay just to see what the hell happens. But I wouldn't spend 20,000 to hope it goes to 100. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It probably won't. But no, that's a great cover too, where Spider-Man's smashing Hulk, you know, and I think he like hits him all the way to the moon. I had a copy of that. Yeah, I had a copy of that and a raw copy, and I sent it in and had it signed by McFarlane. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It came back a 9.6 too, which I was.
Oh, that's good. I feel that's it was tough. Like with the signature thing too. It's like we all saw the videos that CGC was posting. I mean, there are tens of thousands of books he signed. I mean, he had to do 2 trips over a week long just to get through them all. And so it's like to get a high grade after it's signed is like such a crapshoot because it's like, how delicate can you be when you're literally signing 10,000 books at a time? You know what I mean? And so it's like when I see people get a 9.8, I'm like, damn, you got lucky.
Yeah, it's a couple on my wall here that I sent in. I have another Hulk 344 that I sent in and got the sign came back at 9.4, and then a Hulk 340 that came back 9.2. So which I was happy with.
Yeah.
Now that's one I have the same one. Mine's 9.2. I sent mine in September of last year, and then he announced the signing. And again, I wasn't big on. I wasn't going to send mine back because I didn't want to lose the grade because I was pretty happy with getting that grade. But I was like, damn it! I sent like 340 in. I think 298 or 299. I sent enough and a Batman 423. I could have got them all signed, but signing wasn't a big deal because I was more into I want to meet the guy and have him sign. But then I think through the process of going to a comic book convention, sitting in line. And then I've heard stories of people getting right up. Matt from Absolute Geek told a story that he got to the front of the line, and right when he got to the front of the line, whoever he was waiting for to sign.
It was Stan Lee. Tom McFarlane came and grabbed him for lunch.
Took him to lunch. So he sat there another hour. I'm like, that would be my luck. Or, you know, the guy would be, not that he's a jerk, but maybe he's annoyed that day. You know, I mean, think about signing, you know, 10,000, your name 10,000 times in a day. I'm sure people get annoyed, and sometimes it's not that good of an idea to meet your heroes because you might be disappointed. Sometimes maybe you are, you know, happy you did it. I don't know. So I just sort of stayed away from the signing because I didn't want to go through, you know, sitting in line and, you know, unless you meet them at the mall, but none of them were in Pittsburgh at any time.
Yeah.
So I didn't get that lucky, but
you know, Todd McFarlane, I don't think, you know, I'll probably have the opportunity, or at least I'm not like seeking the opportunity to meet him in person. So he was one, and he was the only one I've ever sent in to get signed. I do have an ASM 300 that I didn't send in for the same reason. I didn't think I'd get the grade back on it. Yeah, it's a 9.6, but when I look at it, I'm like, there's quite a few spine ticks in there. I don't think it's going to come back at 9.6.
Well, that's the thing too is like I sent in my ASM 300 to that, and it came back an 8.5, and like I was fairly confident it was at least like a 9.2, and so when I got the 8.5, I was like, ugh. But now that it's signed, it's like it's hard to like because now I have to add a signature, add a CGC signed beat to get them to read. So it's just like
right,
kind of like. I would have much rather just kept it raw and tried to get it at a 9+.
The Dave Michelini will be he has a signing coming up through CGC, so you can send that in and get them to sign it.
Yeah, but then
get him
so
get both.
There's 2. So there's that. but then you have to rely on CCS to press it. And you don't hear good things about CCS. So it's like, I wouldn't put, but there's another guy, his name is Rich Hen, and he travels around, goes to conventions, and just like facilitates signatures. And he's a CGC facilitator. He also hosts his own private events. He's also having Michelini come to him, and he's going to have him sign, and then he will press it himself. And like, I talked to him about this in detail because I have my 8.5 and I talked to him about this. And so it was $45 for the signature. And then he's like, and if you want me to press it afterwards, it's $75. And I was like, do you mind if I ask? I get you're a CGC guy, so you can charge a premium, but a normal clean and press is $15. And he's like, you're totally right. Here's the thing. I'm going to work on your book. Like, if you pay me to do this, like, I'm going to make sure it has the best out of it as possible. That doesn't guarantee anything,
right?
But I'm going to do my best. And so if I was to do it, it would be through him. But it's like, so that's 45 plus 75 plus shipping.
$100.
And then it's like, it's still not a guarantee. And like, he's like, and be warned, like, it could come back a lower grade. Like, sometimes books are, and I'm just like, so I don't know if I'm going to do it. Like, if I was to do it, I have to send it by next week. So I don't know. I've been debating it.
I think it comes down to, like, if you had the book since you were a kid, you don't really have a whole lot into it.
Yeah.
But if you bought the book for a couple $100 and then you got another 100, 200 into shipping and signing and pressing, now you better get that grade to justify it. So that's the tough part. I find it is, had I not sent mine in to get graded, I would have probably just done the signing because they were all books I had as a kid. So there wasn't a whole lot involved in cost wise. But now I don't want to get them broken open and more damage could happen. It just that's the biggest problem. It's fun to go and collect and buy, but then doing these offshoots of signings, slabbing, pressing. That's something I don't do. I don't know if you guys do. I know, Rohan, you don't do pressing, but Dale, do you do any pressing?
No.
I get it done,
that's
but
another thing to maybe get into. I've never had one pressed because I don't want to send my book out. There's just, it's a lot of, because of where I live, it isn't the easiest to go places and just drop stuff off.
Yeah.
You're outside are you in Pittsburgh, outside of Pittsburgh?
I'm north of Pittsburgh now, so I'm like Erie, PA, another one of the Great Lakes. You're near which lake?
Yeah, I'm on Lake Michigan.
Lake Michigan. So, it isn't a vast area of comic people. So, I don't think anyone's around me. I could get it pressed unless I went to a show. And the most recent show I went to near State College, Pennsylvania, had CGC there, and that's the first show I've ever been to that actually had CGC in the last 10 shows I've been to.
Yeah, I think they're being more out there this past year because I've seen them post that they're at, because like I feel like the year prior when I was just getting back in, it was like they were at San Diego, New York, and LA, or even like Chicago, like the few big ones. Like they didn't come to Seattle last year when I went to Emerald City Comic Con, but this year they were at Emerald City Comic Con. They're at the one you went to, and I've seen them post about a bunch of other ones. So I feel like they're trying to make definitely like a presence at as many as they can versus how and again, that could have been because of COVID or whatever, and they now they're ramping back up. I don't know what it was like pre-COVID. So
no, I mean the show I'm going to try to go to this weekend. There's no CGC at it because I have a couple Spawn books I want to get pressed and then submitted in. But that's just all it's not. Sometimes it's easier to go buy the slab on eBay and be done with it, right?
Especially like when you can buy the grade that you want to buy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the same thing.
I've done that.
So, Dale, do you collect Marvel cards at all?
No, I have a few, but I got a couple Hulk and a couple Silver Surfer.
Yeah, so I
don't collect them.
We've interviewed a couple card guys, and it kind of like got my mind rolling. And it's like, now comics, I have a lot of comics I want to collect of various characters and storylines. But when it comes to the cards, I only really have any interest in collecting Silver Surfer cards. And right now, yes, we'll just say right now. And it's like I have a bunch of cards, and I can buy raw cards. Let's just say. But then with cards, it's like, as we talked about with Justin last week, it's like, it's almost like, unless it's like something that's super rare, it's kind of 10 or bust, right? Just like we talked about with modern comics.
Yeah.
And to get a 10 is so hard. And it's like, you could just buy 10s for the cost it would take you to send in multiple cards to hope to get a 10. And so it's like, I don't even want to bother trying to submit cards because it's like, I can just buy them. They're not the Silver Surfer cards I'm getting, like, they're the if you remember the cards from 1990, 91, 92, the Marvel Series 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
Like you could get them on eBay for 20. I've sniped a couple for on minimum bid options for $25 PSA 10s, and it's like that's way cheaper than it would be for me to submit to PSA and hope to get a 10.
Hope to get a 10. Yeah, exactly. And I do that. When I'm buying like a raw book, I kind of do my research and say, oh, how much more can I get this probably equivalent grade, already on eBay slabbed in a grade that I'm confident, that's going to be the grade versus, well, I'm guessing this is going to be the grade. It might be higher, it might be lower. That's the risk. So yeah, I do the same thing.
Yeah, and that's why I'm glad, like I said, like with the bronze and silver, like I can't afford 9/8, so I'm not worried about 9/8. For me, it's more just like I want to own this book, so I want to own a piece of history, like I want a grade that's presentable. That's all that matters.
Yeah,
so
me too, and like I'll show you a couple of my other, like I got and in some of these older books, 9/8's just unattainable. I got I think JP, this is your favorite book, right?
Yep, one of my top. Yep, definitely.
The ASM 129. It's a 7.5. Yeah. I mean,
it's awesome.
Decent, higher mid grade.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I do have a 9/8 in the Wolverine.
That's
limited
cover.
series #1, which is pretty cool. Oh, here's that Star Wars one that came back at 9/6.
I can't believe that 9/6, and you bought it from the local comic shop. Like,
yeah.
Did he know it was? They had to be.
Yeah, let me tell you about this guy. Like, I stumbled on just the most awesome shop owner, great guy. This guy knows. I mean, he's the expert. I mean, he's probably the only other guy like that I just get to talk shop, about comics. I don't have any other friends or coworkers that collect comics. It's kind of similar to you guys. But so I go in there every week, just spend an hour, talk to him.
What's his name?
His name's Terry from Unicorn Comics.
Okay, yeah, because my brother was saying like he doesn't know any good shops in Chicago and he lives there, so I'll tell him Unicorn Comics.
Okay, yeah, Unicorn Comics. I mean, small little hole in the wall shop, right?
What neighborhood?
It's by Lombard.
Okay.
And so just I think he's had the shop there for over 40 years.
Wow.
Just old school, very knowledgeable about all things comic, Marvel and DC, and he's really in it just for the love of comics, right? He could care less about making money. He's got a policy that once he puts a price on a book, it stays there.
Even if the book goes up,
if the book goes up, and so like. And he's got boxes that probably haven't been opened in 20 years. And I'll be going through them and I'll be like, I found a bunch of Hulk 449s, right?
Oh, and the Thunderbolt.
The first Thunderbolts, right?
Yeah.
And he was selling them for $20. And,
Jeez.
And I was like, Terry, like, and this is when there was speculation, the movies come out. I'm like, hey, Terry, I mean, I want to buy all of these. There's like 7 of them. You're selling them for $20 each. You probably get like $100, and they were like really nice condition. And he's like, "No, you can have them for 20." I was like, Terry, I mean, I appreciate it, and I always give him a little extra just because he's just a really good, decent guy. That's the only time I've really flipped some books. I sent those into CGC. I think out of the 7 books, 5 of them came back 9/8.
Dang.
And yeah, and then, so I bought them for $20, and then I sold them at the peak like a year ago.
Perfect.
And they were going $500-$600.
Yes,
that was pretty cool. Yeah,
I love it.
And I'm really not in this for like a resale thing. I like collecting the books, but I saw the opportunity there.
Totally. And, we're the same way. Like, you see something and it's like, I don't need that book, but like there's opportunity there. Like by all means, there's no reason not to, because it's going to help you get to where you want to get to with what you want.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And I mean, awesome. the short-term like game, and trying to get those short-term returns in comics, it's so hard and time consuming. I'm really in it for the long term. I'm buying these books. I'll probably hold them for 20, 30 years. Everything's got a price. If somebody comes and offers me, a ridiculous amount of money for one of my books, of course I'm going to sell it. But, I'm really not into selling. unless one of those cool opportunities comes along.
Yeah, just what I was to say, it's great that you have that guy that has that kind of mindset when it comes. It's like he's done it for 40 years. He's probably more than settled and fine with what his life is, and so he doesn't need to like play that game. That's great. Because what I find frustrating is like, especially now, I feel like it's very common now. You'll see people price comes like, oh, this is FF52, and I've got it graded at a 6.0, and therefore the price is this, and it's like, it'll be the price of a graded 6.0, and it's like, no, you can't sell a raw copy 6.0 that you think is a 6.0 for a 6.0 price. Like, there's a reason that graded comics have a premium, and that like frustrates, especially now when like you see some guys like, oh, this is a 9.8. It's like, you don't know that. Like we just talked about how subjective a 9.8 is. Like, you can't sell this at 9.8. Like, this is crazy. And and in my personal experience, I've always, whenever I bought a book raw and they said it's X grade, I'm yet to be
always lower.
And I know it does happen. And I know there are good guys out there. This guy that you're talking about sounds like a good guy. I admit to have that experience. I've always ended up getting like half a grade or full grade lower than what they thought it would be.
Oh, for sure.
And they always are like, I overgrade. I'm very conservative with my grade. It's like, okay.
Oh, they all say that. They all say that. It never happened. I think I've had it once where I bought like a book off a claim sale, sent it in, and it came back higher. But every other time, it's come back lower.
Yeah.
Do you guys watch Lords of the Long Box or listen to them?
I actually haven't checked. I just had you talk, but I've yet to check them out. I got to though.
Dale, have you ever checked them out?
No, I don't typically watch any like the YouTube type stuff, but
like I walk my dog every morning, and it's become a chore, but I guess I enjoy it a couple miles every morning. And whether rain, sleet, or snow, I'm walking that damn dog. So I listen to podcasts now. Used to be financial podcasts. Now a little bit of comic stuff. And Lords of the Long Box is the guy named TiVo. And then he has Miss Bird City. Her husband has Bird City Comics in Arizona. And then this guy, JB, another collector. Miss Bird City and JB have great voices for radio. And Miss Bird City looks pretty nice to watch on YouTube as well. But
yeah, no, I think I follow her on Instagram. Yeah.
I mean, she looks good and she has a great voice. So if you listen to it, and JB, they're both. TiVo's good too. I love his. He goes off on these little tangents sometimes about things, but it's a good show to listen to as well as watch. So if you can listen to it, I would recommend it. But one thing that TiVo said was he hates when people on eBay put, I'm not a professional grader, but look at the pictures. I put that on every one of my eBay sales because I'm not a professional grader. I'm letting you know that I don't know for sure. And that's just my way of letting somebody know. And TiVo's like, you need to know. I'm like, we don't all, he's not a professional grader. I'm not, not even the CGC guys are professional graders. Because
I would rather someone say, I'm not a professional grader. Check the pictures. This is my price. Versus someone being like, this is a 9.2. This is my price.
Or the one that says, I'm not a professional grader. Check the pictures, and there's two pictures. It's like, well,
I
can't really
that's
see
what
it.
Frustrates me. But I get it. That's frustrating. Like, you would want somebody to commit to a grade, but like, I would never commit to a grade if I was selling a book, right?
Yeah.
On a raw book, no way. Because it's so subjective, and like you said, not even the CGC graders are that consistent either. So
no, and again, if you're looking at a graded book, it's a different story. But again, even people, you said yourself, you have a 9.6 that has some spine ticks, and if it was like a $20,000 book or more, I guarantee someone's looking at that book saying, "Oh, it's got spine ticks. It's probably not a real 9.6." And I'd be like, listen, it's a 9. Don't crack it then. It's a 9.6. That's the price. It doesn't matter if you think it would come back differently. Don't crack it then. It's a 9.6. Like, that's in stone. Like, to check the grader and the grade itself and say that's not the right grade, that's like ridiculous. But I can get the raws. Obviously, there's some leeway, right? Here and there. But once it's graded, I mean, I want one that presents well. So if I'm buying like a 6.5, I don't want a big crease down the middle, because I'm going to put them on my wall. I'm okay if there's a rip on the back because I don't see the rip. I'm just going to put it like you have on your wall. Same with me. It just matters presenting wise where the screw ups are, I guess you'll say. But that's all I care about when I buy a graded book. I'm not going to bitch and say you have it priced too high. It is what it is. I just want to make sure it's presentable. But everyone has their opinion. But
well, and that's I'm on the hunt now for Hulk #1, right? And obviously Hulk is my favorite character. I I fell in love with Hulk.
Why is Hulk your favorite character? Is that because your IG name is Hulk is Hulk? And then why? And tell us why Hulk is your favorite character.
Well, so I mean, it goes back to nostalgia, right? When I was probably 6, 7, 8 years old, I loved the Incredible Hulk series, the Bill Bixby, Lou Ferrigno series, right? And this was late 80s, right? And by then there was reruns, but I mean those reruns came on Saturday sometimes, but always on Sunday afternoon. And my dad and I, every Sunday, we were watching that next episode, and just I loved. As a little kid, I would jump around pretending I was Hulk, growling like Lou Ferrigno would. So, and then when I got into comics, I kind of naturally gravitated towards the Hulk because I love the show.
So what's the strategy? What's the plan? The hunt for Hulk 1. We've done it. We did an episode of Hulk 181. So what's the hunt for Hulk 1 look like for you?
The Hulk. So I've really... I've had a couple opportunities over the years to buy a Hulk 1, but just because of that price tag, there's so much. I just want to make sure I'm getting the right one.
Is it graded or raw?
Graded
or raw?
Grade. I'm not, for that amount of money. I want to make sure I'm getting the grade right. Somebody could say, "Hey, this is like we were just talking about, right? How this is a 3.0, right?" Then
I'd be more worried about like restoration that I couldn't see, or
exactly.
Isn't the Hulk 1? Doesn't it have like there's that's well known for being restored or have color touch up on that Hulk book?
Yeah,
from what I heard. Okay.
Yeah, and not to mention you're also looking. It's the rarest Silver Age book there is.
Yes.
Right. So it's like, and that's why it's when it comes to Silver Age, right? It's AF-15s at the top, and then it's either Hulk 1 or Showcase 4. Like that's the top 3 books of the Silver Age.
And right, the Hulk 1 is, admittedly, it's probably not the most popular and like sought after, but just because of the rarity, I think there's less than 2,000 of them known out there, right? So it's very rare. There's not many of them out there, and that's why the value is so high.
Now there's another podcast I listen to, and they also have YouTube. It's called Bronze and Modern Gods. You guys know those?
Yeah,
that showed up. Okay, so you got John and Richard. Now, Richard lives in Cleveland, and he went to a show this weekend or a couple weekends ago, and he was with a dealer that I know who's going to be at the shows. All the shows I've been to recently, and will be there this weekend. It's Nerdbox Comics. Somebody brought to that and a book bag, just in a bag, not even boarded, not graded. It was AF-15 or Amazing Spider-Man 1 and a bunch of other major keys from that era, including Hulk 1. So he wanted to sell them to Nerdbox, and what they agreed to do was to send them into CGC, and then Nerdbox was going to buy them for the grade. So I know Nerdbox will probably flip it, so he's someone maybe to get a hold of, because they were looking at it with their phone with the light to see if there was any restoration, any trimming, and all that kind of stuff that I would worry about buying it raw. So
I'm also worried about, like, I've heard some horror stories, especially with Hulk 1, that there's fakes out there, and people are selling fakes on eBay for $20,000, and then people are sending them into CGC, and all of a sudden, and they even like have them graded too that are fake, and so that scares me, right?
What I will say, we had a little kind of like, we'll call it a little gripe session on CGC. One thing I am amazed about is like their database for everything that there is comic wise out there is quite impressive. And like there are things that they will recognize that we didn't even know are things. So I'll give you an example. Like, and this is a card example just because I saw it recently. So the Marvel Series 1, 1990, by Impel, they have that whole series. There are a few cards that are out there that were what they called, what did he call them? They were like promo. They called them like they were in cello packs. I don't know what that means, but they were to promote these cards, this series. And the only way you can tell the difference of these cards and the other ones is the color on the card is a little bit darker, more saturated. And then 2, on the back, all the regular Series 1's cards say at the very bottom in small print, exclusively distributed by Impel. And these promo cards don't say that. And no one ever knew that. And CGC, they just started grading Marvel cards, put that out there and were like, these is a special rare version of this card. And so I would be very curious to like interview someone at CGC to be like, how is this database compiled? Like the amount of information that's out there. That is very fascinating to me.
Yeah.
So I'll give them props on that end.
Yeah.
Well, especially to know, how many graded books, like you said, there's less than 2,000 Hulk books, but how many raw? It'd be good to know how many raws are out there still in decent condition too, to compare that to the graded version. It's nice to know how many 9/8 versus are on the rarity, but there's less.
There are no 9/8 of the Hulk.
No, so there's no. Yeah, no Knights. I don't think there's any 9/6s either. I think there's just nine couple.
I saw. So there's a guy, and we're actually going to interview him in May. His name is Vincent Zuzerl. I can't remember his last name, but he's the guy. He's the guy from my picture, JP, with the Batman one, the Superman one, and the Action Comics one. He runs Comic Connect, and if you follow Josh's comic books on IG, he does the big boy books of the week.
Yeah,
Vince was this week. Vince, and he had an Action Comics 1 3.0 first off, but he has a Hulk 1 and it's a 9.2. And I think they said that there's only 1 or 2 other copies that are 9.4 that are above that copy.
Yeah, no, I saw that post. It was awesome. I had to comment on that. I'm never going to get a 9.2.
Yeah, right? And I saw Blue Chip Comic, which is another seller on Instagram. They had an 8.0 Hulk 1, and he had it listed at $250,000. Wow. So that 9.2 Hulk is easily $1 million book.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, you got some ballers on this podcast, with some $high books.
That's why you're here, Dale. That's why you're with us.
no, I'm humbled. You'd have me on because I'm hoping for anywhere from a 3.0 to a 5.0.
Now, do you have Hulk 2, 3, 4? Do you have any other in that series?
I do. So. Okay. The past 2 years, I got sidetracked, but I was on my evolution of collecting comics, right? And I was buying everything at the time. And then I kind of moved to keys. I bought a whole bunch of keys. And then, but a lot of them I was buying, and it's probably just for, investment sake, but I wasn't really attached to the books or the characters, right? I was just buying them to buy them. But, what I really found was the most fun over the past couple of years. I decided I was going to buy every issue of Hulk, right? All the volumes. There's been 7 or 8 volumes, and it just recently, a couple months ago, I got every Hulk book except Hulk 1, right? That's the only one I don't have. There's over 800 books that I got, and I didn't buy them off eBay. It was it was a 2-year journey where I just kind of went through the hunt and went to comic book shops around Chicago, went to the cons. Whenever I travel for work or vacation, I'd find the comic shops and just kind of.
And you still have them all?
Gaps. Still got them all, yeah. And so I got all the Hulks. I'm working on Silver Surfer. I'm almost doing the same thing with Silver Surfer, and then I might go to like Fantastic Four or something.
Yeah,
but so I've never had.
That might be hard to get Fantastic Four 1.
yeah, that's a little more difficult.
So let me ask you this question: so to get Hulk 1, are you just saving money, or are you looking to trade for it? Or because theoretically, right, you could sell Hulks 2 through 6 and have enough money to buy Hulk 1, but you don't want to do that. I don't know. Maybe you do.
I don't. No, I don't. I don't want to sell my Hulk books. I got 2 through 6, and then 181. Yeah, I could sell all those and buy a pretty decent copy of Hulk 1. But I've been saving money. I've got the funds to buy one.
So right now, you're just looking for the right deal, then.
Yeah. So, and kind of my game plan, kind of mention it out on here, get the word out, maybe put a couple posts on Instagram.
Yeah, I think
I'm looking, right?
You should absolutely put it out there. Be like, hey, I'm in search of Hulk 1.
Yeah.
And I've always had people be like, hey, I've seen one there. It's happened to me. Absolutely.
Yeah, but I want the right book. I don't want to get taken advantage of either. I want to get a fair price, right? And I'm willing to pay a fair price. There C2E2 is this weekend in Chicago, one of the bigger cons. So I'm going there. I'm not going there with the mindset, I got to walk away with a Hulk 1, because I know there will be some there. But, I want to make sure it's a good, presentable copy in between a 3.0, 5.0.
Yeah,
that's probably what I can
your
afford.
Ultimate book, and you've got the money. You be picky.
Yeah.
Have you been to C2E2 before?
Yeah, I went last year, and
How is
it's
that?
been like 3 or 4 years ago.
Is it a lot of comics there, or is it mostly pop culture stuff too?
Yeah, so I've been to. There's probably more comics at C2E2 than some of the other cons I've been to.
Okay.
Like you said, there's a lot more. It's a majority of other pop culture type stuff, but there's quite a few comic book sellers there and
The
artists.
last two I went to were pop culture, and there was like 5 vendors, so it's hard to find, especially
Yeah.
that the book that rare you're looking for. C2E2 is a big show. I think you'll definitely see it
Yeah,
there, but price wise may be the issue. But I'm just saying, like, as long as there's a good amount of comic book dealers, there's a good
there
chance of
are.
getting there. Okay,
Yeah, there
good.
are, and I've been there before, and I've seen that book. And
Okay.
at least a handful of copies will be there floating around. But I think there are less up for sale since kind of the downturn in the market. I think people might be holding on to them, waiting for the price to go back up. Um,
Do you
so
think
I think I've seen less available in the past few months as I've been searching.
now Marvel does not own the movie rights to Hulk?
Not
It's
yet.
owned
They
by
don't own the
Universal
right. They
Yeah,
don't. They don't own the rights to
Universal.
make a solo Hulk movie.
Yeah.
But I
until
think that 2025, I think, or something like that.
right. So do you think is that? I mean, are people holding them because the value dropped? I mean, if you've had this in your collection for years, you've made money on it. Maybe not as much as you could have sold in 2021. So why hold it now unless there's anticipation that something's going to catapult this thing higher? Because it's just normal time and inflation that works on these older books. Because the movies don't always, you know,
Yeah, that's what I've learned recently. The movies haven't been a big driver, right? I mean, you'll see a quick spike, but it always goes back down,
Yeah.
right? So I don't think people. I mean, maybe people are trying to catch it on that just really quick spike,
I
and
but
think too.
I'm not gonna buy it then anyway. You know?
I
right.
think too. Like right now, right there's been obviously the books have come back down, which is great for people like us that want to buy. I think like right now, if you've got the funds and you can find the books you want, right now is such a good time to
Yeah,
buy Silver Age books because it seems right now that a lot of like what we'll call them like big game hunters when it comes to like big book buyers are all looking at Golden Age books right now, right? And so Silver Age and like don't get me wrong, like Golden Age is great, and I understand why there's tons of value there. Like to me personally, it's like I like big keys, and it's like I can the books that a Golden Age I can afford would be just like a random Superman Golden Age book. And that really doesn't interest me. Like I'd much rather have the first appearance of Silver Surfer, let's just say, versus like Superman 32, right?
Right.
I can't afford Superman 1, right? And probably, unless I find it at a garage sale that they don't know what they have, like it's probably not in the cards for me. And so like, but eventually, things always change. And then like the Silver Age will come back to popularity like it did during the boom. And like those books are going to go back. I mean, I think Hulk 1 with that rarity component to it, like if you can get your hands on it, like that is a guaranteed investment level book that like in 20 years,
Well,
100% you're going to make it.
absolutely.
you yourself,
Right.
Rowan, said you don't buy them for the investment.
No, not, I mean,
But
Yeah,
But
but
Dale, if you
the
were gonna
value of the books isn't lost on us too, right?
yes,
right, so
exactly.
that's what I mean. You can go, have an experience like go rock climbing, and you again, that's an experience you paid for it. You really can't take anything with you except the rock. Maybe you pull down for from it, but there's really like the book you buy, and then if it's the right purchase, you're going to be able to unload that at some point for what you paid for it, or not much less, or not much, maybe more, right? So
Yeah.
there's some inherent value it's going to hold. It's not an experience buying a comic, unlike moderns, which they're dropped like a rock if it's not a key. So the books have value. So you're buying them that for I buy them for the increase in value, but at least they hold value as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You buy it today, you turn around and sell it in a couple of weeks, you might get your money back, right? You're not going to go down to nothing like a brand new car,
Right. And where the market is right now, like Rohan, you're absolutely correct. It's down. I don't think it's going to go any lower. Probably, creep back up from here. I don't think it's going to spike again, but I think it's going to
No.
gradually increase. I think everyone kind of learned their lesson from
Yeah, but
2021. I mean,
what about 2000 or 1997 and 94? I mean,
well, yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
I
I'm
don't think
hoping for
it.
that again.
it would be great, right? After I buy all these keys and
Yeah.
they go
That's
up.
what I'm
But I
hoping
don't
for.
think it's going to happen in the next couple of years, right? I
Oh,
think
yeah,
it
no.
might be 10, 20 years before
And again,
that
like we
happens
said, like
again.
I'm talking about a 20, 30-year hold on this book,
Yeah.
right? I'm not talking about
That's what I'm
5
looking
years.
for. Yeah.
Well,
And so, like,
I
JP, to
can't
answer your
lose.
question, yes, at the end of the day, to me, it's more important to own the piece of history than it is about the investment value. And like, for instance, like if because of Hulk 1 and the price it's at, like if I found a 0.5 that I could afford and it made me happy, I would be on board with 0.5. My point is that I'm not lost on the value, and the value of it, and it's tied to its rarity, its significance, and so on and so forth. And that's what makes it more desirable to me, right? And so like it makes it me want to have it more because I know that there's a demand, because that's why, because of the significance involved, because of the rarity involved. So, while at the end of the day, I'm not looking for my comic books to be my retirement plan. I want to own history, but the things that I'm gravitated towards are the things that like are always going to be liquid books.
Yeah, exactly. And that for me, Hulk #1, it's got both, right? It does got the investment value. I'm not going to deny that. And at this point, it's probably just going to go up, so it's a good investment. But I'm buying it, and it's my grail. I know that's not everyone's, ultimate grail, but it's mine because of the sentiment of nostalgia, all that aspect of it too. And I love that character. I love all the books, and that's the one I want.
Now, what is Hulk 1? What's it going for in that price and the grade you're thinking about?
So, I've been doing my research, watching the trends. The prices come down quite a bit in 2021. A couple 5.5s sold for around, in between 55,000 to 60,000.
Wow.
And people were saying, oh, these bigger books, these bigger keys, these Ultimate Grail books aren't going to drop like the others. They didn't at first. There was a lag, but then I've noticed, okay, where a lot of the other keys were dropping in value, like last summer, where the Hulk one, it actually took until about January to drop in value. But then there's some recent sales of some 5.5s. It's only around 30,000.
And I bet that has also more to do with like just the state of the economy, right? There's not as much people out there that have tens of thousands of dollars to spend, and I think that's a lot of it's tied to that. But I agree with you. And it's like, so anyways, go on. Sorry, I cut you off.
But so we've seen like a 5.5 drop almost, half, 50% in value, right? And same thing with about a 3.0. 3.0s were going for about 30,000 in 2021. Now it's 15, 16.
Yeah.
Jesus. I still
not cheap.
No, it's still not cheap, but I think it's a great time to buy it. So I'm glad I waited up. Although actually I should have bought it in 2018 when I started, collecting.
Oh yeah, I mean,
instead of buying all these keys in the Hulk 181, I should just jumped in on because it was even cheaper back then. But I didn't know the boom was going to happen.
No, and that's what we did when we got in, was just slowly buying those $50 books or $100 books, and then realizing, what Rohan did, sold most of those to buy the keys, because we should have bought them all at that time.
Yeah.
Buy what you want in the beginning as opposed to like piecemealing it. And but it's you get in slow because you don't really. It's a new hobby, right? When you go fishing, or you don't just jump in and buy the best rod and buy a big boat to go. You just kind of go slow, and then you realize you spent a bunch of money on stuff that no longer needs. So then you just, luckily with the comics, you can trade them or sell them off and get some of your money back, and then like Rohan, turn it into something else. And hopefully you'll be able to find more Thunderbolts, 449s, Incredible Hulk, turn it into Hulk 1.
Yeah, like I said, awesome. I'd be willing to trade. Probably not any of my Hulk books, but I'd be willing to trade some of my other grails. I got a couple I'll show you here. Like if I go to the con or another comic book shop that I find a Hulk 1 at, and they're willing to trade some of I definitely cash plus trade. That'd be great. This one, I'll show you my top 5 grails. You guys got time for it?
Yeah. We got a 194 to 98. Damn.
Actually, I'll show you my top 5 grails. I'll show off here. This is another one that in a 9.8, the price is like 3 or 4 times the amount
Yeah.
from a 9.6, right?
Yeah.
First Black Cat, which that 90s Spider-Man show, like Black Cat was a big part of that one.
Did you buy that graded or did you send that in?
No, I bought it graded.
Oh, okay.
And this was one of the first ones I bought back in 2018, and I'm glad I did because the value went way up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Damn.
I got.
Yeah, I think I see that book regularly for around 4K.
Yeah. Last time I checked, it was around there, 38 to 100 to 4,000. I got an Invincible 1. It's only a 9.6, but still this is another one. A 9.8 is like around 4,000 to 5,000, where the 9.6 is around 1,500 or less.
It's crazy.
My ASM 300.
The Venom
9.6
custom label.
Yeah. First Venom custom. This is one. This is the one that probably got a couple spine ticks that I didn't want to send in because I scared it would come back like a 9.2.
Yeah,
just being honest,
Yeah.
My Hulk number 2, which is a pretty pricey book.
Yeah. Green Hulk.
It's not that high of a grade, but I'm pretty happy with it. I might upgrade at some point. After
I think that's a great
after I get my Hulk one. Yeah, it's good looking. First Green Hulk. And then one of my first appearance of the Toad Man.
Dude, some of those Silver Age like villains, they're so corny, but I love it.
I know. Got my Fantastic Four 48 in an 8.0, which this is one of the first grails that I bought too. Right, nice. I bought the ASM 300. I bought this one FF 48 and that Black Cat right off the bat when I first got into it. I'm happy with that. Although, so let me get your opinion, Rohan. I really wish they put the cover of FF 49 on FF 48.
Yeah, I mean,
the cover does nothing for me on this one, right?
See, so I will say, and I told JP this story. So 49 is clearly the better cover. Like, I think 49 is in the top 10 greatest Silver Age covers there is. Yeah,
absolutely.
It's awesome.
It's beautiful.
That being said, like when I got my Fantastic Four 48, like, and just like holding it, I was just like, this cover is better than I appreciated, that I thought I would. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just because it's how iconic it is. But I think 48 is a great cover, but I agree that 49 is definitely the better cover. But like, if I had to pick one, I'm picking 48 because it's the first full appearance Silver Surfer.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got a higher value.
Yeah, it's the money book. It's no doubt.
But on my wall, I displayed my 49.
Yeah.
And versus my 48 because it's just aesthetically, it's so much more awesome. It's got the black and the reds and the kind of Galactus and green, and it's got Silver Surfer.
Yeah,
it's 48. 48 doesn't have either of them on the cover.
Yeah.
So
no.
And then obviously the grail that I own, I already showed you my Hulk 181.
Oh, what's that in? That in some type of special case as well as the?
Yeah,
CGC?
This is it's CGC, but then I got another custom case, just to hang it on the wall with.
Yeah. Real quick, I want to ask you about two books I can see behind you. So, I have SS4. What is your grade there on that SS4?
So I got a couple SS4s. That's a 6.5.
Nice.
And then I also have a 1.5 restored. Okay. Now, so that's another one that my local guy, $50. He had that. It's a pretty trashy copy. Came back as a 1.5 restored. We didn't notice there was some glue on it, but for $50.
Totally.
I'm taking it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other one that I want to get that I don't have is that FF12. What's the grade you got there on it?
Oh, so that's a 5.0.
Oh, yeah. That's what I want.
Yeah. And that's a great one. That's the first Hulk outside of
it's the first main title character outside of its own title. It's the first meet of Hulk and Thing. Hulk and Thing have battled so many times. It is. And then to add that cover by Kirby is
yeah, it's so awesome,
fantastic. Top 5 Silver Age book cover right there.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, one of my and then my Tales to Astonish. I just upgraded this one. I I went for it. I probably paid a little too much, but that's my favorite cover. My number
It's a
one
great
all-time
one.
favorite cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Which one is it? Tales to Astonish. Which
Tales
one?
to Astonish
So it's great.
'93.
Silver Surfer with like Hulk grabbing onto him. So I had that. I've
Yeah.
actually traded mine away, and I do
Oh,
want to
yeah.
I do want to hopefully reacquire it again.
So I had and I got it right here. I have a 5.5, but I love it. But I wanted a higher grade just because it's my favorite cover. Just Marie Severin's the artist on this one. Just
Underrated artist, I would say. She's got some killer stuff.
Absolutely underrated. And my two favorite characters, just the fire behind them. It's just classic, awesome.
Yeah.
My favorite cover.
Yeah.
Now, are there any modern, which meaning let's go copper, bronze, Hulk books? All right, I guess you can put 180, 181, but any ones in the 90s that you have graded or cherish from since you got back, not since you were collecting as a kid? Is there any ones that came out that you like? 344, you mentioned 340. Is there any other ones besides those?
I've got a bunch of. I'll show you one of them here. I got a bunch graded. I've got like the first Red Hulk graded in a 9.8, which has gone up in value recently with Harrison Ford going to play that character in the Thunderbolts. Another one that I really like is Hulk 441, and it's the Pulp Fiction homage with She-Hulk on there. I love that cover. Every time it's a pretty cheap book still, right? Every time I see it in a shop, I'll buy it, for $10 or something. It's really cool.
Yeah.
What about Hulk? What is it? 377 first when they combined Smart Hulk and Dumb Hulk, I guess you'll call
the Intelligent Hulk, right? And there's there's 3 versions of that one, right? And this was like before variants was a big
the different print runs.
Yeah, and I've got the first print and the second print, but I don't have the third print. So
I think we talked about that one because I have 1 and 2 because that was my favorite cover. It's Dale Keown.
Yeah,
I think is the name of it, and I couldn't believe how much the third print is, and it's just like you could spend a couple $100 on that, or do you want to just keep that money aside and get your Hulk 1? Like there's tons of stuff that can defray you from getting to your grail. So
2 things I was going to say too, since you said Red Hulk. One, I'm not a modern guy, so like I feel like there's like multiple Hulk characters right now. Like there's like the Red Hulk, there's obviously Bruce Banner Hulk, and then I think there's one called like Maestro or Mastro, and then like there's his son, and then like I have no idea who all these people are.
Yeah, I've read them all, right? When I buy the book, the Hulk books, I read them. It took me a while to figure it all out too, but essentially Hulk has a bunch of different personalities, right? Bruce Banner, when he got into the Peter David era where he was writing the stories, kind of explored like the multiple personalities that Bruce Banner had, and those were manifested in different Hulk personalities too. That's where like the Gray Hulk came from, Joe Fixit, Savage Hulk, Intelligent Hulk.
So then so I know a lot of people are not happy with the current version of the MCU Hulk. They don't like that they've taken away like the savageness of them. Are you in that boat?
I am, because even when you had like the Intelligent Hulk and the Gray Hulk who were a little bit smarter, they were always still just brutal and savage. They kind of made like Hulk in the MCU now since like Infinity War. He's like the big cuddly teddy bear, version, and he was never like that. That's not true to the comics, which I think has really made a lot of people mad. Even this Intelligent Hulk, just was pretty savage.
Yeah,
I always liked the Gray Hulk because he wasn't as strong as Green Hulk, but he was smart and just kind of a dick. Like he just didn't care. He was just doing his own thing.
But not as strong. Green Hulk is the strongest.
Right, but I mean, like a difference of can he lift 75 tons versus 100 tons, like those cards would say in the back, and he still was kicking some ass. So
the only one that's really different, the Red Hulk, is Bruce Banner's father-in-law, General Ross, Thunderbolt Ross, right, and that's who Harrison Ford's going to play. But then Maestro is actually an alternate version of the Hulk in the future. So it's like when Hulk gets old. It's like 1,000 years in the future.
Got it.
So what about Abomination? He was another one in the movies. I don't know how he came about exactly. I know his first appearance roughly was, but Is that roughly how he came about? And then did they play him right
Yeah.
in the movies or no?
No, absolutely played. He was accurate in that first Hulk movie in 2008 with Edward Norton.
Not accurate with She-Hulk though.
Not accurate with She-Hulk. No, he's always been pretty savage and brutal. But that's why I like that 2008 movie, because that was pretty comic book accurate.
The Edward Norton one?
The Edward Norton
Dude,
one.
I think it's totally underrated. I love that movie.
Me too. I love that movie too. And probably just I'm biased because I like Hulk. But
what about
Abomination first appearance, Tales to Astonish 90, and then the first cover was 91. And and that's actually like Hulk's, over the longevity of the Hulk series, that's his biggest arch nemesis, and he fights the most.
What about Leader?
Yeah, and Leader too.
Okay.
Which is, I think, Tales to Astonish 62 was his first appearance.
That Edward Norton movie always got me hyped because, like, you saw the guy becoming the leader, but then they never went anywhere with it.
But he never actually fights the leader, because the leader is just
tiny.
He's tiny, he's weak, he doesn't have any strength or power, right? He's just smart, and he outsmarts the Hulk, and and sends all of his Goonies to go fight the Hulk.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to them bringing him into it at some point, because I remember when that was teased in 2008. So I did like the first Hulk movie with what was it, Eric Bana was his name? I did like that one.
No.
And Nick Nolte's in it. He's like, oh, damn it, Chewbacca, I'm going to, like, he was supposed to be Han Solo. You know that Nick Nolte was supposed to be Han Solo?
I didn't know that.
I heard that, yeah.
Yeah, he was like, oh, damn it, Chewbacca,
I like that movie. That one is actually pretty comic book accurate, but just the style, I think the Ang Lee, directed it, and just the style there, it's not for me, but as far as the story and the characters, they're pretty comic book accurate.
Yeah, I thought it was a good movie. I mean, again, in the early 2000s, we didn't have very much that was good until Iron Man came out, and in my opinion, that changed the dynamic going forward. Most of the movies prior to that some were good, like Amazing Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, but the X-Men were good. But then they sort of dropped off too, because they made so many damn movies. But that's what happens when you make too much of something. There's always something to compare it to. But I just thought that first Hulk I was happy to see the Hulk on screen. So
yeah, that was
back
awesome.
then. So, but no, I know we got to get going here. It's almost about hour. See, like you said, we say an hour, and then it goes hour 20, and just
hour
keep
20, hour 30.
Hey,
we get going, and we can go all day. But yeah,
Is there any way we could stop doing our regular jobs and just do this stuff, and people just pay us? We'll just talk all day. Pay us, people.
I know. I want to get sponsored, like mountain climbing, just so I can do that full time. But no one's sponsoring me.
Hey, we'll keep plugging at it, see what happens. Find more of those Hulk 449s, and you'll pave your way right to Hulk 1. That's crazy.
I'll keep you updated on my journey here. There's some cons coming up this year, and I'll be on the hunt.
Yeah, dude. We definitely want to hear if you get it.
I will forward you on the Nerd Box information. You can look them up on Instagram if you want, but I'll forward them on to you. Like I said, he just got one a couple weeks ago. It's sent in to CGC. Who knows how long that'll take, but who knows what he's going to ask for? Because I heard it was like a 3.0 lower grade. So
that's probably about right where I want to buy it. As long as it presents well, right? I'm okay with going with that lower grade. I'd probably take a 3.0 that presents well over a 5.5 that, it's a lot more expensive. And, if it doesn't present well, I'll take that 3.0.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hopefully you find it. I'll forward that information to you. Hopefully we can help you out. And other than that, no, I appreciate it. Dale, having you on. Hulk is one of my favorites as well. And like learning about your journey. Hopefully if you get that one, you got the whole set, all 800 Hulks. That's pretty pretty
awesome.
good.
So, well, I appreciate you guys having me on. Just an average guy here to talk shop. Don't think I'm any expert or anything. So
this is what we want. I mean, this is what our podcast is about. It's just we just want to talk about comics. Like, we don't have an agenda. We just want to talk.
Yeah, That's awesome.
Yeah.
So we appreciate having you on. We'll do this again soon, and maybe you'll have an unboxing when you get that book in the next, hopefully less than a year. So
awesome.
What happens for
you.
All
right.
So.
Right on. Thanks, Dale.
Well, thanks,
all right,
guys.
see you, Dale. Take
Appreciate
care.
It.
We'll see everyone in the next pod, whatever number it is, 17, 18. We never know. So
like,
see you next
comment,
time.
Subscribe.
All right. Peace out, everybody.
Later, guys.